Good evening, everybody. Thank you for attending this meeting of the Licensing and Gambling Subcommittee on Wednesday, the 8th of October. Before we get started, I would like to run through some housekeeping rules. There are no planned fire alarms, so if it does sound, please leave via the nearest exit. I want to turn my own phone off before I tell everybody off for turning theirs off. Toilets are the end of the corridor and on the left if you require it. And can I ask that all mobile phones are kept on silent or ideally switched off, as I have just done. Lead by example. Introductions. Do you want to do apologies after introductions or before introductions? After, okay. Introductions. My name's Councillor Matthew Lynch. I'm the Chair of the Licensing and Public Safety Committee. I'm also chairing this committee. Can I ask the members on my right to introduce themselves? And the licensing team lead.
Yeah, good evening everyone. My name's Nathan Howson. I'm the licensing team leader for Chorley Council.
Legal officer.
Good evening, my name is Sushma Nai. I'm a solicitor on the legal team.
Democratic Services.
Nina Neisselberg, Democratic Services.
And can I ask the applicant to introduce himself?
Light on. Yeah, it goes red. Sorry about that. My name's Chris Morn.
We've all had to get to grips to these over the years. Yes. Obviously, I will remind everybody that if they do need to speak, please push the correct button and don't worry about turning it off. If you do leave it on, it will be switched off for you, as I found often. Okay. We also have IT support, and would you like to introduce yourselves at the back, or do you want to remain anonymous? Okie dokie. Therefore, the hearing will proceed as follows. The subcommittee to decide whether to allow persons specified under Regulation 8 notice permission to speak. Our licensing officer will outline the report. Questions to our licensing officer for clarification will be permitted from subcommittee members and then the applicant. The applicant will then be invited to make representations in support. Questions to the applicant will be permitted from the subcommittee. The applicant will be invited to sum up if they wish, and the applicant and officers who are not directly supporting the subcommittee will be excluded from the meeting at this point as we enter deliberations. Following deliberations, we will request that the applicant re-enter the meeting so that I can deliver our decision. The applicant will be issued with a detailed notice of decision within 5 working days after this hearing. Therefore, I'll open the meeting. Apologies.
We've had apologies from Mr. Zucha.
Okay, members will find a representation in the additional agenda page 43. Declarations of any interest. If a member has a pecuniary interest, they must withdraw from the meeting. Normally, you should leave the room before the business starts to be discussed. You do, however, have the same right to speak as a member of the public and may remain in the room to enable you to exercise that right and then leave immediately. In either case, you must not seek to improperly influence a decision on the matter. Is there any declarations of interest?
None, Chair.
If you do feel that you do have a declaration at any time, please make that known. Item number 2, procedure. The procedure for the meeting has already been outlined. However, a copy of this procedure can be found on pages 3 and 4 of the agenda, and you should have a laminated copy in front of you. Item number 3, subcommittee to decide whether to allow persons specified on Regulation 8 notice permission to speak. Members should note that permission should not unduly be withheld. Are there any requests, Nathan?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. There's been no such requests. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Item 4, determination of application for premises licence Rory's 2 Talbot Row, Exton. Can I ask Nathan to put forward his report?
Thank you, Chair, and if members would like to follow along, I'm going to start at agenda page 5. As you say, this is in respect of an application for a premises licence to be granted, and that's in respect of Rory's at number 2 Talbot Row in Exton. The reason it's been referred to the subcommittee is to advise members that that application has been made and that there are relevant representations which have been received, and it's to request that members determine the application in accordance with the provisions of the Act. I'll move straight to paragraph 8 on agenda page 6. So the premises is located within a parade of business premises within the centre of Exton. There's a small car park to the front which services these shops. Above each of these units is a residential flat. Members will find the site plan appended at Appendix 1. On all sides, the premises is surrounded by residential properties. Directly to the northeast of the premises is another large public house with car park and outdoor seating with a beer garden. And there's a plan view of the immediate vicinity of the premises appended at Appendix 2. The application then, on the 12th of August 2025, an application for a premises licence was made in respect to the premises. There's a copy of that application appended at Appendix 3 and the associated plans at Appendix 4. The application seeks to authorise the following licensable activities, and that's just the single licensable activity of the supply of alcohol. That's Sunday to Thursday between 12 noon and 11 p.m. and Friday and Saturday from 12 noon until 12 midnight. The proposed hours the premises are open match those of the proposed licensable activities. Members will find at section M of the application, the applicant has set out the steps he intends to take in order to promote the licensing objectives. And the application was advertised in accordance with the regulations. That is, that there was a notice displayed at the premises, there was a notice posted in a local newspaper, and the application was advertised on the council's website. During that consultation then, on the 5th of September 25, a representation was received from Wen Zhu. That's another person within the meaning of the Act. The representation relates to the prevention of public nuisance objective, and it's appended at Appendix 5. Just relating to that representation, there was some further information received from Wen Zhu. Members will find that in the to follow agenda, and it forms pages 43 and 44 of the agenda. So that will be relevant when making a decision. There's some comments from the monitoring officer at paragraph 16 and 17, and then turning to the conclusions at paragraph 18. So the decision should be based on the individual merits of the application and the representation. In accordance with the regulations, a decision must be made within the period of 5 working days, beginning with the day on which the hearing is held. And in accordance with section 18 of the Act, the authority must, having regard to the representations made, take such steps mentioned below, if any, as it considers appropriate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. And those steps are to grant the licence subject to the conditions offered in the operating schedule, modified in any way as authority considers appropriate. The mandatory licensing conditions which are applied to every licence, or to exclude any licensable activity from the licence, or to refuse to specify the person as the designated premises supervisor, or to reject the application entirely. Chair, then, the subcommittee is requested to determine the matter. That's the report, unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Nathan. Did you receive any representations from local councillors raising concerns or support?
The only representation was from the other person who's identified in the application.
Okay. And as part of the application, Nathan, is there any conditions that have been suggested or negotiated extra as to what the application was? Is there anything that you think that's lacking or that is potentially an area that we need to look at?
Nothing extra has been proposed other than those which are proposed at paragraph, section M in the application.
Questions? Any questions?
Nothing from me, Chair. Looks a relatively straightforward application within the Licensing Act. Go with that.
Okay. Any questions for the licensing officer? Oh, sorry, Margaret.
I'm just wondering, in addition to something about soundproofing that I read in your documents, are there any other measures you're thinking about in terms of protection of the neighbouring properties from the noise nuisance that might be generated?
Just for clarity, these are questions to the licensing officer rather than the applicant. We'll get a chance to grill him in a minute.
Sorry, boss. Getting ahead of myself.
Any questions for Nathan? This is the bit where you normally say, no.
No. Just kick me under the table.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. Happy to, yeah? Okay. So we go back to my original point. Is there any questions for Nathan?
Sorry, I haven't got any questions now.
Therefore, can I ask you to make your representations to the committee, please?
Good evening, members of the committee. My name is Chris Morn. I'm the applicant for Rory's at Unit 2 Talbot Rowan Exton. I'd like to begin by thanking Ms Sue for taking the time to raise her concerns, and I completely understand and respect them, as she partly lives above the premises with her family and is entirely responsible to want a peaceful home environment, which I get. My own family and I are in a similar position. We also have 2 young children under the age of 3, so I know firsthand how important and calm and having a nice, calm and quiet environment is for family. That understanding has guided every decision we've made in designing and planning this small community-focused micro-pub. Rory's is not intended to be a late-night bar or a noisy drinking venue. It's a quiet, conversation-led space designed for mature customers to enjoy a quality drink in a relaxed setting. There will be no live music whatsoever. We've taken extensive measures to control and prevent any disturbances. I've got quite a lot of photos in here of the tens of thousands of pounds I've spent on this so far. Would you like to see them? Because it explains everything in the photos. We've put quite a lot of measures in place. Do you want me to continue with this, or do you want to have a look?
Firstly, it would have been good to properly put them as part of the report.
Okay.
I think if you just...
I can summarise on the photos.
We are not experts of sound, therefore,
Okay.
looking at pieces of form and things like that, I understand what you're trying to achieve.
I can list
However,
it here, yeah.
I think if you give a verbal report on the measures that you've put in place, and if you want to chuck in any BS standards and things like that, I am sure the committee will find that invaluable.
No worries. In addition, there will be no outside drinking whatsoever on this premise, outside the premises. Clear signage will also be displayed both inside and outside, asking customers to keep noise to a minimum when entering and leaving the premises. The premises will only operate during reasonable evening hours, and it's worth noting that the neighbouring takeaways the neighbouring takeaway operated by Mrs. Zhu currently trades till 10:30 p.m. meaning our activity will be consistent with existing evening pattern on the street. 2 seconds. So we've fitted a brand new sound controlled entrance by the way of a dual door entrance lobby. So that's a door in and then a door again. And it's been replaced by the previous single glazed frontage and door, which is, you know, significantly will improve the acoustic insulation. Above there is a high specification sound resistant ceiling along with the existing solid concrete ceiling. That combination creates a strong acoustic barrier between the premises and the flat above. The flat above, I must note, that only takes up about 20% of the area of the entire shop that we're taking over. The rest of it is a courtyard above and all walkways. I take all of the licensing objectives very seriously, including the prevention of public nuisance and the protection of children from harm. With these measures in place, I am confident the premises will not cause any disturbance to any nearby residents, nor expose any children from harm or nuisance. My goal is to add something positive to the local community, a small friendly venue that operates responsibly and respectfully. Thank you for considering this application. I respectfully ask the committee to grant the licence subject to the conditions and reassurances I've outlined. We are committed to being responsible operator and considerate neighbours.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Just before I go to members, the sound resistant materials that you've put in place, is there any decibel reduction information on that? Is there any technical specifications you've got for that?
Yeah, if you just give me 2 secs, I'll just get me.
Take your time. Take your time.
So it's called a metal top hat ceiling, which is a suspended ceiling. There's 100mm of acoustic insulation in that. Then there's 12mm of acoustic plasterboard twice, with a 5mm skim over the top of that. And between upstairs and all that, there's 10 inches of approximately concrete between us and the flat before all that starts.
So is it fair to say quite a comprehensive level and probably belt and braces to, you know, you've gone belt and braces on it rather than
yeah,
just
we've spent way too much money, but it had to be done because I didn't want anyone coming back to us saying of any noise complaints.
Yeah. Members, any further questions? I'll go for Margaret first. I'm not getting in trouble twice.
Thank you. Yeah, so I'm thinking about the windows. It sounds like you've gone to a lot of trouble with the ceiling. In the summertime, it'll be difficult to run a premises like this without some fresh air coming in and out. How are you going to manage that? Because there's a large window at the front. I'm trying to imagine whether that's facing the sun, but I don't know the area well enough. But, you know, just in terms of dealing with the heat, have you put air conditioning in? Is there, because your occupants are going to want some fresh air and the windows open.
Spent nearly £3,000 on an air conditioning unit, so it'll heat it in winter and it'll cool it in summer, so the doors can be shut all the time.
Okay, and the second question is how are you going to manage a situation when one of your customers wants to have a cigarette?
Okay, so I have a pub around the corner as well with the same situation there. Outside the front of this premises, there is a bin with a smoking bin on top, and it's all underneath, I'd say, a good 10-foot canopy that's about 2 foot wide. That runs the entire length of these shops. So any of the flats upstairs, they don't get any sound, they get hardly any sound going up, and that's all underneath. So it's protected all the way along in like an L shape.
Councillor Southern.
Yeah, Chris, I'm taking on board exactly what you said with your soundproofing. It's pretty standard stuff from the construction industry. Just a quick note, did you make any contemporaneous notes in terms of sound levels before and after that? It's a throwaway question really, but from what you're describing, it's exactly what you would put in terms of sound barrier, but did you make any notes on that?
So I took in advice off my architect,
Yep.
and we went and looked at the industry standard specification
Yep.
for that, and that's why we've implemented that with the builders that are working on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. That, from what you described, it's exactly what I would expect in that type of flat. In terms of fire barrier and passive fire protection, obviously that would be covered by that anyway. Just to pick up on that point in terms of fire egg, what have you installed in terms of fire alarms and fire protection?
Yep. So we've got a full fire alarm system, heat and smoke detection system in. It's got the green lit man at the front and back doors.
That's your lighting.
All emergency lighting inside the cellar as well, and all just comes on automatically.
Right, so it's not a maintained system, it's a non-maintained then.
It didn't have anything in it to begin with, so I've put this in with a company. Sorry.
Right, so maintained for licensed premises, they're lit effectively, but if there was a power failure, they remain lit for that one for every period of 3 hours.
Yeah, because
So-
of the batteries within
Fine,
it. Yeah,
compliant to 5266. And also your fire eggs on that, terms that one there, 58391 Part 1 compliant, and I'm assuming you've got a certificate of installation, design and maintenance on that as well.
Yeah, we have. Yeah.
Perfect, that's all I want to hear. Thank you very much, thank you.
Straying into the realms of planning, never mind licensing. Okay, quite comprehensive, lots of investment in this, I can see that. Any questions for the applicant, Nathan?
No questions. Just to touch on Councillor Francis' point, obviously there's a photograph on page 9 of the frontage of the premises. So the applicant mentioned about the sort of balcony thing. So if it assists members, that's there anyway.
Yep.
Odd question, where's Rory's come from?
It's named after my son.
Good man, thank you.
He's only 16 months.
Big drinker. There's no technical legal questions that you've... No? Good, okay. Right, I'll move on. Don't have any responsible authorities here, do we, Nathan?
Not today, Chair, no.
Good, can get rid of that section then. No other persons. Therefore, can I ask you to make your sum up if you wish?
I've covered absolutely everything, but obviously we're respectable traders. Like it's a mature place to have a drink. This, yeah, it's just we've spent tens of thousands of pounds to make it right, so it's protected from all the neighbours. So hopefully you'll take that into consideration. Thank you.
I'll do what I normally do, and the amount of money that you've spent isn't for this committee to worry about, because I think the fact that you've done a great deal of work to minimise any potential issues is a greater debating point that we shall have. However, thank you very much for your comments. I will go to the decision-making process, and can I ask everybody that's not party to that to leave the room? You just confirm that YouTube is ended. Welcome back, everybody. In reaching its decision, the subcommittee took into account the following: both written and oral evidence presented in connection with the hearing, the guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003, the Council's statement of licensing policy effective from 2021, and the Licensing Act 2003. The subcommittee has decided to grant the application, subject to the conditions presented within the operating schedule, alongside the additional condition requested by the subcommittee, which is to encourage collaborative working with local residents. The applicant will create and maintain a complaints incident log to be kept updated at all times and will be available for all relevant authorities upon request. The applicant has installed several measures which will reduce noise levels within the premises. This includes insulation, dual opening doors and an air conditioning unit which will enable all windows and doors to remain closed, abating any noise from the premises. That's the decision of the committee. Sorry, Nathan was looking a little bit perplexed there. Okay. The applicant has a right to appeal the decision to the Magistrates' Court within 21 days. Thank you very much, everybody, for your attendance, and good luck.